2nd, 2021. Get the volume up a little. And this is before we had this indictment against Christopher. They spelled it name wrong in the description. Wolfenbarger? Okay, whatever. But let's check this out and see if you spot anybody you know.
Do have sent.
Melissa's mother says while parts of her daughter's body were identified, she hopes one of the biggest missing pieces in this puzzle is found.
At this point, I hope to find the torso, because when you bury your child and you're not able to bury the whole body, it's devastating.
Dr. Dwayne Thompson with the local police department and criminal justice expert also helping us search the woods for clues that may have been missed. And Fulton County's Assistant District Attorney, Adriane Love, wanted to walk this crime scene with us, her office agreeing to take another look at this case to bring closure to the family.
The detectives that are working on the case, their supervisors have shown a dedication and commitment to solving it that makes me extremely optimistic about our chances of actually being able to put this case in front of a grand jury, get it indicted, and being able to bring it to trial.
Get it indicted. So there is the goal. Now, this is a cold case. They have a pretty wide time frame. Things seem to be conflicting to me, but we'll see if it gets clearer as trial moves forward. This 1998-1999 alleged murder, we're still trying to figure out the cause of death. We've gotten hints at a saw, but we're not sure if the timelines match up. Adriane Love wanted to bring this indictment. She was committed to it in 2021. So we don't see her in the courtroom, but it seems like the case was in her hands at the beginning. And we're about to be on day 3 once trial kicks off today. But day 1 and day 2, we have missing evidence. Maybe a VHS that the lead detective says that he turned over to the prosecution. They said they didn't have it. Reports that are missing. Weird things going on. So... And now we're in 2025 with this case proceeding at trial. So there we go. There's a little bit of Adriane Love. Let's do, I think Jim said he's sending the document with that relates to Love's visit. So we'll check that out before court starts up. Let me get that open. Shout out to Jim. In the description of this video, there is a link to a stream that Jim did this weekend, deep diving into this case. Definitely recommend checking that out. He's funny, he'll keep you entertained through it, but he's got a ton of good information in there too. So let's read this motion he sent over. This was February 6th of 2025. And let me move this comment and my old banner. Zoomy zoom. All right, so this is a motion to compel production of additional discovery and to preserve evidence. So the defendant here was spelled correctly, Wolfenbarger, through the undersigned request that this court compel the state to produce additional discovery and to preserve certain forensic evidence as described below. The state has an affirmative duty to turn over any evidence, blah, blah, blah. This includes all exculpatory evidence and evidence that may prove useful for impeachment. So that would be Giglio. Further, OCGA 17-5-56B requires the state in all felony cases to maintain and preserve all biological material, including but not limited to stains, fluids, or hair samples that relate to the identity of the perpetrator of the crime for the period of time that the crime remains unsolved, or until the sentence in the case is completed, whichever occurs last. That's very, wide-ranging, right? If we charge somebody, we put them on trial, they're convicted, you can't destroy it yet. You'd have to wait until their sentence is served. So let's see. What are the issues here? Shout out to Jim. Oh, yeah, and this is a good point. Stimson says I should just refer to him as Happily Angry Lawyer. Otherwise, it's giving Jim from the Casotis trial vibes. So let's see. First, we've got an underline here. The defense has information reason to believe that the district attorney possesses additional physical and/or forensic evidence that has not been provided to the defendant to date. Specifically, included in the discovery is a DNA testing report provided to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office by Pure Gold Forensics of Redland, California. Cool, and they got the info here. And dated November 23rd, 2022. The report relates the results of DNA testing of samples collected from the remains of the victims in this case, Melissa Wolfenbarger. Of the 9 items tested for the presence of DNA, 1 is reported as having returned a mixture of DNA consistent with originating from at least 5 contributors with at least 2 male contributors. The report immediately proceeds to note, the profile may be suitable for comparisons using probabilistic genotyping. Probabilistic oh my god, genotyping is used in criminal investigations to link genetic samples to persons of interest. Such testing provides, and I want to pause here real quick. I've been watching a bunch of different media coverage of this case before the indictment came out. And there was something with Nancy Grace where she had, I think it was both China May and Norma Patton, so sister and mom, on the show. And Nancy Grace said that Christopher Wolfenbarger was the only, it wasn't the highest on the list of persons of interest, but she said Christopher was the only person of interest. And I thought that was interesting. Such testing provides a probability of whether a genetic sample did or did not result from a person of interest. Probabilistic genotyping of the results of the report in this case would therefore reveal the probability that the 5 potential DNA contributors obtained from the victim's remains in this case did or did not originate from Mr. Wolfenbarger. And remember, he provided his DNA. So they want this because it could be exculpatory. It is unimaginable that the district attorney would not have followed up with the subsequent genotyping testings in this case. Well, this seems to be a motif in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. It is therefore reasonable to assume that the district attorney possesses test results for probabilistic genotyping of the DNA results found on Melissa Wolfenbarger's remains. No information, however, as to any such further testing or probabilistic genotyping has been disclosed in discovery so far. Furthermore, the samples underlying this potential evidence are in danger of being destroyed if they have not been destroyed already. The report in question includes, and the state did respond, this argument that we're reading here, the state does respond with like a 1-sentence response saying that they called GBI and said that they still have the stuff, but they don't specify what they asked GBI to make that confirmation. So, and then let's see. The report in question includes the following disclosure. Oh, furthermore, the samples underlying this potential evidence are in danger of being destroyed if they've not been destroyed already. The report in question includes the following disclosure. The DNA analysis byproducts will be destroyed after 2 years unless the following occurs. The agency or agencies from which the original evidence was received must notify Pure Gold Forensics in writing at least 90 days prior to the date of destruction of the evidence and DNA analysis byproducts if said agencies require extended storage of the evidence and DNA analysis byproducts. So the reason the defense has to raise this issue is because it has to be, if the district attorney's office is the provider of the evidence to Pure Gold, they're the ones that have to make this request. Defense can't just go and do it. Again, the report was dated November 23rd, 2022. The district attorney had and has a duty to preserve this evidence. Second, the defense has information and reason to believe that the district attorney possesses additional physical and forensic evidence that had not been provided to the defense to date. Investigatory journalist reports, one being dated March 1st, 2023, have disclosed that sometime after the assumption of office of the current Fulton County District Attorney, that's Fonnie Willis, which had occurred January 1st, 2021, a team, including journalists, private investigators, and 2 witnesses in this case, met with Fulton County Chief Deputy District Attorney Adriane Love. She was an ADA at the time, according to the way it was narrated in the video we just watched. So they all meet at the scene where the remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger had been discovered in 1999. This was the July 22nd upload that we just watched. Presumably it was filmed before it was aired. The group was accompanied by investigators equipped with cadaver dogs and metal detectors. It is reported that during this investigatory event, the dogs were, quote, on the scent in the woods of the immediate vicinity, and that at some point, plastic bags had been pulled from the woods. It was further reported that Miss Love stated that this evidence would be tested for latent fingerprints and DNA. So that clip that we just watched, which is like 2 decades and change after the time frame of this cold case happening, they go in with these dogs, they find new plastic bags, and now, reading this, is this making some of the questions we heard on day 1 and day 2 make a little bit more sense from the defense's strategy? Because the defense asked the lead detective and then Tina, the other GBI agent that's now an ME, but at the time she was there during the follow-up searches. You know, they kept asking, did you find any other plastic bags? Was that the only one that you saw? Was that near the skull that was in the road? They were focusing on the number and the placement of the bags. And oddly enough, lead detective Dan Kelly couldn't remember if the bags were buried or just laying on the surface. You know, but the defense was asking very specific questions about these bags. Well, apparently in some report, this decades later clip that we just watched, new bags are found and pulled. And Love's like, we're going to test them. And yes, the witnesses here are, the witnesses in question referenced here are Norma and Tina May, mom and sister. Well, so let's see. The discovery provided to the defendant to date includes no report of any evidence collected during any such meeting during the stated time frame, nor that any such investigation took place, nor any results of fingerprint analysis or DNA testing. Further, the discovery does not include any DNA testing done on any plastic bags at all, new or old. Third, the statements of one potential witness appear to be missing from the discovery. The discovery contains an audio file of an interview with the witness, okay, I think this is a separate issue. So this is a separate issue here. Yeah. So these are separate issues. Let me drop a link to this doc if you want to check it out. But again, Happily Angry Lawyer Jim, not Jim McIntyre, did a stream breaking down this document and more. Totally recommend it. And thanks to mods, I saw you guys dropped it in the chat. So there is that in full. But this is, and especially for anyone that's new to Fulton County, you've heard, and not just me up here on screen, but I'm sure you've seen it in the chat, like Fulton's gonna Fulton, and, you know, it's the same thing again, or I'm getting YSL flashbacks. This is the type of thing that people are referencing. So you have somebody with the prosecution's office going out there with media, the news, to discuss evidence in a case, and during that search, they're there with 2 witnesses that end up testifying. We saw Tina May take the stand. Norma's currently on the stand, and we're about to start with cross-examination today. And they're all there together. You have a podcast producer that seems to also act as law enforcement, which I have concerns about in a little bit of a way. It's one thing if you're just covering things, looking into things, but when you have law enforcement access and credentials, and you're working with the prosecution, and then now we're finding out that those things that you're doing aren't disclosed properly to the defense, it just raises a lot of questions. It raises a lot of questions. Yes, this is a very good typo, Dizzy. It's like, there's like gotta be an equivalent of like a Freudian slip that works better and for typing, not in speaking. But yeah, I think that's a good one there. So, and yeah, it's blowing my mind because even the more recent coverage seems to be relying on the story originating from Zone 7 and Zone 7 adjacent coverage. And things are wrong. Even the map that like Nancy Grace was showing a map, and, you know, we're hearing at trial that the skull was found very close to the glass. I can't remember. Actual glass? Yeah, actual glass. And that the other parts were found further away over the next few weeks, but Nancy Grace was showing a map where the skull was found farther away. And the other remains were found like right in front of Action Glass. So, where were they getting that information to do that type of coverage? So, and I don't know. But this is why I think it's cool to watch this. You know, we have the trial, we can compare. And again, I think the chat is really good at, well, hey, you know, the jury isn't aware of this thing that we're talking about outside of court. So the jury wouldn't know these other things necessarily. And that guy Nick says, why would dude hide the body by his work? And great question, right? But at the same time, criminals do stupid things, right? There's no shortage of, like, if you search on YouTube, criminal does stupid thing, you'll get like a million results. You'll never run out of things to watch. But at the same time, if we don't have any other persons of interest, at least according to Nancy Grace, is that enough to say, well, this was a stupid criminal who just dumped incriminating evidence in an incriminating place? I'm fine with recognizing that criminals can be very dumb and like let themselves get caught red-handed. But at the same time, I think the prosecution's office should look at other persons of interest to make sure, you know, yeah, no, we looked at everything else. All signs point to this criminal really being that dumb. So we'll see. But yeah, that's true too. He's familiar with the area. And that's the thing, like, if we don't get narrowed in on this time frame, it's going to be really confusing, because was he still working there at the time that he needed to dispose of Melissa's body? Did he no longer work there, but somebody else thought he still worked there? Yeah, and Stephanie, I agree. I really believe that a whole lot of cases get solved due to criminals stupid, but sloppy prosecution's bad too. I think there's a good mix of that. Like, I think a lot of people get convicted because they talk. They spill the beans on themselves. So. Oh no, we're not going to blame McIntyre on it. I don't think court has started up. Let's see. Let me refresh. Well, it says they're going to start in 3 minutes, so we'll see. And I think another thing to listen to, you guys, and I love the questions that confuse me very early in trial. Sometimes it's just because it's confusing subject matter. Sometimes it's just because people aren't good at asking questions. Other times, and maybe a combination of all three, but other times the questions are to build up things for a future witness or to use in closing arguments. And I'm really curious about all of these questions about bleach. In some of these early media, when I say early, I mean like 2021 media interviews with Tina May and Norma. It was reported, I think this is one of the Nancy Grace ones, that the perpetrator poured Clorox bleach into the skull. And we heard like a reference to a bag filled with bleach, but also the bag was already open and away from the skull when the skull was sitting straight up on the road. So I don't know how anybody would have came across this and known that a bag was like a skull was submerged in bleach and tied up in a plastic bag. I don't really get how that description ever could have been an accurate observation. But then in the motions, there's a reference to the medical examiner pouring bleach on the skull, thus making it, difficult to do DNA testing on. So, but we haven't had testimony from the medical examiner. But I'm waiting to see what's going on with this bleach in the skull. Like, what is going on? And hey, Melanie. Yeah, we're bouncing around Georgia cases, it feels like. So, Fulton County to Cobb because of the Mahendra Patel Walmart case. We were just over in Liberty County, Georgia, for what I think was a crazy case, but very efficient and properly run trial. So it was really interesting to see the Casotis case play out. And then we go back to Fulton and it's a hot mess. Okay, and Lexi says on cross-examination, it was stated that the ME put bleach on the skull. Okay, so the jury has heard it. So, and yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but it raises a lot of questions. Like, why would we do that? But who knows? I'm not going to boost the volume until we get in. Let's see. Because I don't want it to sound crazy. I can't lower the volume on the feed until it's live. Brittany says, we've watched Fulton County fail more within the last year, all on their own. Well, maybe to see if any tool marks on the skull. Bleach, or do you mean like something in general to get debris removed? Like, obviously the testing can interfere with the integrity of the evidence because they need to, like, if there's something on the thing that you need to look at, you might need to take stuff off of it, and now you're removing something. But why bleach? Or is that just like some stupid thing that they did back in the 90s? So, we need somebody from like the 90s to come and tell us like what they did back then that they don't do anymore. Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark. Oh, man. Let's see. If you guys are tuning in late, the dismissal was granted for the civil forfeiture case for Young Thug. Why am I muted? The Adriane Love video. I just linked that in the chat. Hey Eslo. So, you mean the Christopher Wolfenbarger? So guys, let's get over to Lexi Lawnerd. I'm gonna drop a link to her ex. She's got recaps of day 1, day 2, and the opening statements. So if you feel like you're missing anything, and opening statements were pretty hard to hear. So, let me get day 2. Oh wait, there was a podcast summary as well. So this is Lexi's Zone 7 summary. But this is a nice quick way. And that's a bit out of court, but we're hearing about it. We're starting to hear about certain things. Day 2. Holy moly, how do you have time? Lexi has like coverage of 1 million cases on her ex. Very impressive. There's so much going on. It feels like there's like a million cases. Wednesday this week, there's 3 hearings that I want to take a look at. There's a Courtney Clenny hearing, there's the Hallie and DDG hearing, and then there's also the Laura Karen hearing. Laura Karen is the teacher that, I think New Jersey, that got her 13-year-old student pregnant, allegedly. So she has a hearing. So three big hearings this Wednesday, a bunch of trials starting this week. Okay, and then this is Lexi's day 1. And then opening statements. And if you want a overview of the state's theory and the defense's arguments, opening statements will give you the rundown. All right, I think that's all of them. Shout out to Lexi. Lexi, your summaries are amazing. And they're super, super, super helpful. Here, they still haven't started. Let's check Court TV. Oh no, they're still on this, well, we'll keep it running. The defense has had all weekend to prepare for cross-examination of Norma Patton, the mom. That should be, unless there's any housekeeping, that's going to be the first witness. She's still on the stand. Yeah, I think Love is a bit notorious, and it's interesting. Did she get taken off this case? Why isn't she in the courtroom for this case? That's interesting to me. You know, it might not be because of something related to this case specifically that she's not in the courtroom prosecuting. Maybe she's doing something else. Maybe they just don't want her in the courtroom anymore. However, I think it's still very convenient that now you have Vincent Fawcett, Mr. Wilson, and Simone Hilton in there, Your Honor, we don't know about that. Your Honor, we don't know about that. Your Honor, we don't know about that. They genuinely might not know about these things. But their own office, through Adriane Love, who was initially working this case, might have knowledge of these things. So at some point, the state had knowledge of something, and now the 3 players in the courtroom genuinely don't have personal knowledge of what they're being requested. So it's kind of like there's a gap in knowledge that's very, very helpful to the state, in my opinion. Yeah, that's where I'm thinking, Nick, that it's intentional. It could be an intentional strategy. So, yeah, call her in and see. Imagine if this is the case, we get Adriane Love on the stand finally, with how badly we wanted to see Love get on the stand to talk about that ex parte meeting, and I think there was another issue where we wanted Love on the stand. Maybe with our Kelly and Bennett. You know, the issue where a detective for the state is hitting on a witness, and the witness doesn't want to respond, doesn't want to show up to trial, but she said she was planning to. But they end up putting out a warrant for her, and they put her into custody before she took the stand. And I think Steele asked for Love, because she was a witness, to get up on the stand and talk about it. Okay. So Skillet Pan says bleach the bones to remove surface contamination, primarily to eliminate extraneous DNA that could interfere with DNA analysis, and to remove soft tissue. And then to remove soft tissue for better examination of skeletal trauma. From Gemini AI. I mean, it sounds somewhat sensible. But I would say, would you do that for the entire skull or just like a piece? Neri, I love this. As Jim pointed out on his Friday crash out regarding how stupid this case was, the dad actually killed a family member too. He really is a prime suspect at this point. He wasn't against unaliving family. Well, and I would take it a step further. So imagine Melissa's, like, Melissa, daughter, if her dad kills somebody's family, like a different part of the family, what if retribution, we go get one of your family members, right? So the dad killing a family member might not just be that it's more plausible that he would kill another family member. It could also open the door to someone else having like a get back motive. But again, according to Nancy Grace, there was only one person of interest. So, and I think they have to answer. I think the state has to give. I think they have to fight this. If this was really committed by Christopher Wolfenbarger, they're gonna have to fight this curiosity. I can't imagine the jury pool not having questions about this father. And I don't think we've heard the end of it, right? So we're going to have cross-examination of Norma today. So I think we're going to hear more and more. I think it's certainly information that's to the benefit of the defense to work with, and that the state's going to have to get over. And I think it's safe to say we're late, because I'm all the way ahead. Man, that Casotis trial started like on time every day. Except like once. I'll check Law and Crime too. Yeah, Law and Crime hasn't even started their feed. Heck yeah, Jane just got in here and says YSL Steel. Yep, very, very good news. I'm very happy to hear the civil forfeiture case update. And that was only an argument that it was, and I really think Steele was sitting on that argument. Steele, Adams, and then Leanne Webster are the three that wrote the motion that was being argued today. But I still think they had great arguments on the other issues that they've been raising. Like, where is the nexus between these items and the alleged criminal activity? And the state just sat down and had no argument beyond what was already in their response to Steele today. It's just a beautiful thing to watch. Is that right by the Tyler Perry studio area? My Georgia geography improves more every day. So Gloria says, in the area, if you don't have a vehicle and you're living on Avon Avenue, which is a good 15-minute walk from Tyler Perry Studios by Lakewood, the train station, you'd have to ride the train. So cool. I also wonder why they keep asking about the roof being painted. Like, I can't imagine that relating to, like, the paint chip supposedly found, like microscopic paint chip found in Melissa's hair. But there's gotta be some, like, I don't know. I don't know. And we will read the appeal. We will read the appeal. Stephanie says, you know, I'm fairly new to trial watching. Is it always this horrible? I think it's like, Fulton County Courthouse especially seems to start really late. During the YSL trial, a lot of the late starts were because defendants, it wasn't just because the state wasn't ready. We make fun of that. But sometimes the defendants, in YSL, there were 6 co-defendants, and they all need to be present before trial resumes. And sometimes it would be they were being held in different facilities as well. And the transport from the whatever facility, they mess up if they're running late, that causes everything to start late. So one possibility is because Wolfenbarger is in custody, maybe his transport was late today. But it's very common with Fulton County. Yeah, definitely not always as horrible. Yeah, Dizzy, I don't understand the paint questions. Part of it just was maybe just to drive home that there's changes, right? There's changes to this building and to the surrounding environment. It's been 20 something years. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just as simple as reinforcing that this is all different now, right? But I don't think that's it either, because then in the same hand, the defense was like, and you guys had a fence around Action Glass, right? Would you call it a safe neighborhood? So now we want the fence to be the same throughout time. Has there been improvements to Fulton County Jail? No, I think there's been like recent issues with like drone arrests and let's see. Let's do a quick Rice Street search. They've got a vote this week. Um, the county commissioners are voting on jail improvements this week. So in a few days, we'll have some updates on whatever they vote on. 13 days ago, another family raised concerns about Fulton jail conditions. So, but I think we'll look and see. Let's pay attention this week and see what this county commission. And sometimes I think those are streamed. Maybe we can just watch it on a lunch break. We'll see what they're talking about. I think it's safe to say no improvements. Stephanie, I think a lot of people think this way. I've had it too. Like, I couldn't be a trial lawyer on either side. I wouldn't be good at it. But Stephanie says to think I didn't believe I could have professional licensure because I couldn't get my ducks in a row. But then you see stuff like this. And I do think that there's a win at all cost mentality at issue here. So it's not just the disorganization, it's the disorganization that we then weaponize because we want to be able to win the case. So when we don't have our ducks in a row, we'll just write it off as, well, we didn't know. We didn't mean to. It wasn't intentional. And we'll just keep it pushing forward. I think with like Rikers Island and Rice Street comparisons, similar issues, right? Terrible conditions, and also the issue of a lot of people awaiting trial, pretrial detention, and you have people dying in custody that haven't even been convicted yet because of the conditions. So definitely some parallels there. Caddy Rusan. Kathy. Thanks, Betsy. All right, so Kathy Rusan from Law and Crime has an update. We're still waiting. The judge did mention that she had other cases. And Kathy says that the sentencing that is being handled is taking longer than expected. So thank you, Betsy. And thank you, Kay Schmidt, for the 5 gifts. Shout out to Kay Schmidt in the chat. Kay Schmidt said, hurry up and get started. Big, let's get a banner going. Let's get some Kay Schmidt appreciation. Oh, yeah. Shamina, so YSL, civil forfeiture, Whitaker dismissed. Dizzy just in all caps came running to announce dismissed. Aaron, you might need that update too. You probably saw over on X. And Aaron, what are you doing out there in the ocean? Hurricane Aaron. I made a joke about Hurricane Aaron on Friday. And then this weekend, like all the, like Max Velocity and Ryan Hall, they're like, oh, Aaron looks like they're up to something. And then all of a sudden it jumped to a category 5. Shout out to Aaron. Well, let's see. I don't know how much later they're going to start. And I don't really remember how long Direct of Norma was. Do you guys want to rewatch the Direct of Norma for a little bit and we'll just jump when we jump? Yeah, so the state was trying to keep Young Thug's property and they could appeal this. We'll see how that goes. But, I mean, Steele relied on the case law here. And if the appeal's successful, it would end up just being a hearing again. They'd have to still go back to the court and argue the other aspects. Let's pull up day 2. Oh, she was on the stand for a little bit.
I am. I do.
Thank you. And if you'll please state and spell your name for the record.
Norma J. Patton, Norma J. Patton.
All right, that way people know what we're watching.
Ms. Patton?
Yes, sir.
Tell the court, where were you living in the 1990s?
1990,
Yes, 1990s, that area.
Locust Grove.
All right. And were you married?
Yes, sir.
Who were you married to?
Carl M. Patton Jr.
All right. How many years were you guys married?
We were married 56 years, 6 months, and 8 days.
Okay. Did you and your husband have any children?
Yes, sir.
How many children did you have?
We had 2 girls.
What were their names?
Tina Mae was the oldest, and Melissa Dawn.
Okay. And where did you raise your 2 children? Where did you raise your 2 children?
Between Ellenwood and Locust Grove.
Okay. And how the age range between the 2?
7 years.
Okay. And did Melissa and Tina, did you guys grow up in the same household?
Yes.
All right. Do you know the name Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
How do you know that name?
Melissa started seeing him when she got into high school.
Okay. And was this at the beginning of high school, middle, end of high school?
Freshman year.
All right. How did you come to find out about that relationship?
When she met him, she started running away to be with him.
And what about that instance, how did you find out about it?
Well, she would not come home from school, and I would try to find her and turn her in as a runaway when I wasn't able to find her.
Okay. And prior to her starting high school, was that happening?
No, sir.
All right. And during that period, how would you describe the relationship between yourself, Tina Patton, and Melissa Patton?
Tina May and I have not been close. Melissa is the one that I bonded with more so than Tina May.
And what do you mean by that?
Melissa was my baby.
Okay. What were some of the differences between how your interaction with Melissa and Tina how would that differ?
Well, the difference with Tina May, she would get mad when she wouldn't get away, so she would run away.
Okay. And what about Melissa?
Melissa, we didn't have that issue. We just, until she met Chris.
Okay. Did you know of Christopher Wolfenbarger prior to that time?
No, sir.
All right. And what were your feelings at that time about the defendant and your daughter seeing each other?
I didn't want them seeing each other because I felt she was too young.
Okay. And were you able, did you express that to your daughter?
Yes.
Did that have any effect when you expressed that to her?
Well, she just kept running away. She didn't.
Okay. And at any point, do you recall their relationship becoming particularly serious?
Yes, I got worried about it after they, the first runaway, not so much, but after she kept running away, then I determined that I felt like I needed to put her on birth control.
Okay.
So I put her on birth control.
All right. And can you tell the court what you recall after that?
I tried my best to keep them separated, and I would watch her take the birth control pill, and I thought she was taking them, but come to find out she was not taking them.
Okay. And do you recall if your daughter conceived a child at any point?
Yes, she did.
And at what point, if she's in high school and she's talking about her starting high school, how soon after that does this happen?
Pretty well. I found out before Christmas that she was pregnant.
Okay. Do you recall how old she was at that time?
No.
Was she at a point where she was a senior and ready to graduate from high school?
She was not a senior.
Okay. Was it at a point where she had just started high school and say she was a freshman?
Yes.
Okay. So closer to the beginning of high school, is that the best of your recollection?
Yes.
All right. And your recollection is that she got pregnant during that period?
Right.
And do you recall the grandchild that she got pregnant with?
Yes, Christina.
Okay. And is that Christina Wolfenbarger?
Yes, it's Christina Marie.
Okay. All right. And what happened after Melissa got pregnant?
After she got pregnant in February, her and Chris got married.
Okay.
Because she was pregnant. Did not need my signature because she was pregnant. So that was just...
Was Melissa living with you up to that time when she got pregnant?
Yes, she was.
All right. And who all was living in the house at that time?
Carl, myself, and Melissa.
Okay. And at that time, we're talking about going into high school and when she meets the defendant. What was the relationship with Carl Patton and Melissa, your daughter?
They had a very good relationship. He would take her fishing. He took her on fishing on one episode, and he had caught a turtle, and he started pulling the turtle in the boat, and she about got out of the boat and was trying to get away from the turtle, and he brought the turtle home.
All right. And after your daughter got married, did she continue to live in your residence, or did she move out?
No, the day that she got married, it's the day she moved out.
Okay. And where did she move to?
She moved to East Point. I don't remember the street that they lived on.
Okay. And Is this a residence that you visited after she moved?
Only one time.
Okay. And why was that only one time?
It just they didn't stay there that long.
Do you recall if your daughter Melissa conceived another child with the defendant?
Yes,
And what child was that?
that would be Joseph
Okay.
Allen Sander.
And are you able to tell the jury how many years apart between Christina and Joey?
Christina was born in August the 15th, and Joey was of 1995, and Joey was born July 5th of 1996.
Okay, so right
It was
there.
not even a year.
All right. And your grandchildren are born, it's 95, 96. Are you spending time periodically, frequently? Are you spending time with your grandchildren during that period?
During that period, Melissa, when she would get a chance, she would bring Christina basically to my house whenever she had the opportunity to have a way to get down there.
Okay. And orient us to what year this would be, best you can.
She came to the house kind of early 96 when she found out she was pregnant with Joey. Her and Christina, and she sat on the couch and told me that she was pregnant. But prior to her coming, I had gotten home and had a letter from her where she wrote a letter because I wasn't home, and to tell me that she was pregnant. So when she actually came, I already knew that she was pregnant.
All right. Now you said whenever she would get a chance. So we're talking about that 1996. Think about that year. Give us an estimate as to how many times she would have come over and you would have seen her and say Chrissy during that period.
I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times, I guess.
Okay. All right. And is that spread out during that period of the year?
Yes.
Okay. And when she comes over, she come over by herself and the daughter, or she Chris and the defendant?
Usually it was just her and Christina.
Okay. And does that continue into the next year, 1997?
1997, really didn't see her that much. In 1996, before Christmas, she actually lived with me, with her and Joey, but
Okay. And then,
for a couple months.
okay, so that was in Christmas of 96?
That early, before Christmas, yeah.
Okay. And do you recall why that happened?
Because she had been arrested for car theft.
Okay. So she got arrested for car theft, and you're keeping the grandkids for 2 months.
She came to stay with me with the grandbabies, yes.
Okay. And during that period, what's your relationship with your grandchildren?
It was fabulous. She got a job. During that probably about 3 months that she was there, she got a job at a place in McDonough that did computer parts. So she was working and taking care of the babies.
Okay. Did you see your daughter in 1998?
1998, I saw her November 9th, 1998. It was the last time I saw her.
Oh, the last time you saw her. Okay. All right. Now, are you familiar with where your daughter was working during this period? You said the computer place. Was she working anywhere else?
To my knowledge, she was working on and off at Waffle House.
All right. Okay. Now, I want to turn your attention to the year 1998. Did you have an opportunity to see Christina in and around, say, the July, August period of 1998?
No, I did not.
Okay. During that period of 1998, do you recall seeing any injuries or bruising on the person of your daughter, Melissa Wolfenbarger?
When I saw Melissa in the summer of 1998, when I saw her, she had on long sleeves and blue jeans, and it was like July and August.
Okay. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. So you're saying it's not 88. You're saying in July of 1998, you saw your daughter Melissa.
Yes,
All right. Were you able to observe any bruising or marks or abrasions on your daughter at that time?
I did not because she had on long sleeves and blue jeans.
Okay. Did your daughter tell you about anything that happened? Your Honor has previously ruled on this matter.
Overruled.
Did your daughter tell you about anything that occurred in that month of July?
No.
Okay.
What?
Let
Wait.
me ask you this.
Objection. Okay.